So I'll share with you a little bit about my thoughts about how we can use technology to augment professionals and not to replace them. And I know this is a bit normative, and I'll tell you how I got to this line of thinking. So as we started, and Maha said, we've been talking about AI and the future of work, mostly in these two categories of automation and augmentation. And I would like us to problematize that and to rethink that. And a lot of that problematization came to me thanks to the work with Sarah Leibovich here around AI and radiology. Because before, I have to say, if you ask me about AI in radiology or in many other professions 3-5 years ago, I thought that's the best idea ever. Why would I trust my brain diagnosis with one physician if I can do it based on thousands, millions of diagnoses and physicians, right? But when we started seeing how AI is actually designed and enacted and used in the field, I have completely changed, I have to say, how I think about AI. This is supposed to be augmenting technologies. We don't have time to go into these studies right now, but all I can say is there is a big question in the study of whether it is truly augmenting and who is it augmenting, especially when these are opaque technologies that the experts cannot learn from. And the other thing that we studied is that people call it augmenting, right? It's very clear that it's the best way to sell. And we as academics should not necessarily, I would say, kind of agree or adopt the terms that the field is using, because in this study, the more we got into it, the more we realized that these technologies are not designed in the way they are designed. Their design logic is not a true augmentation. It is automation. It's just like temporarily it will be augmenting, but in the end, it's about automating. So the question is, what does it really mean to augment, I would say, or do we even want to use those terms? And that got me thinking about my own work for years, this whole augmentation and automation, all this threat that I've seen with open innovation and crowdsourcing. And if we take it to the innovation world, every time there is a new way of doing innovation, there is this default assumption, we don't say it, and the practitioners don't say it, of substituting the process that used to be there before. So in my work with R&D and with innovation, the traditional model was the experts solve by themselves. And there comes online platforms and online gig work and online labor markets. And we talk about crowdsourcing instead of the internal experts that have been trained and domain experts for years, right? And then I said, okay, isn't that similar, or how is that different? So big reasons why crowdsourcing fails in many organizations and still today is because of this threat, is because of the fact that it's trying to substitute, to automate. And today we have AI, and it's the same thing with innovation. If you know the Innovator Project, anyone that is interested in that, this is now being debated in courts around the world. Can patents be owned by a machine? Can you give a machine a patent in the sense, can you list it? AlphaFold, who should we attribute this invention to? Is it just Google, or is there something else there? I find this discussion fascinating, by the way. If anyone wants to study it, I think it's fascinating by itself. But I am seeing the same hype that we have a new way of innovating, and everyone in pharma and drugs, they're now attributing it to the AI, not to the experts who are designing it, not to any human insight. And then I met these interesting folks from HCIN and this field that is called computational creativity. And that got me to think, okay, let's forget about what the field is right now doing and how companies are designing. What do I think? What do we think as researchers of innovation? Let's try to imagine, to theorize, to experiment with potential future innovation processes. And this is Nikki Couture, who has been doing it with crowdsourcing for a while and has been saying the way companies are designing is not efficient. And this is Nafra Shahaf, who believes that computers can have a sense of humor and also be creative. So the three of us started working. One thing that is out there from our work is the beginning of this reimagination and theorizing and experimentation that we published about how we can scale up analogical innovation with crowds, AI, and humans, and what each of those agents or entities can bring into the innovation process. In gist, it's about the fact that humans and especially domain experts can bring complexity and their in-depth knowledge, but they get into cognitive entrenchment and cognitive, social cognitive frame lock-in, right? So we have Sarah Kaplan here, Eric Dane, the people who have written about those problems that professionals get over the years and why they're blocked. And there we see that crowds can help with breaking that cognitive fixation, and the scalability can come from AI. And we started experimenting. So the first experiment we've done is what I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. And I can tell you that the second one we're building as we're speaking. So the first one was done with IRI, which I warmly recommend to collaborate with them if you're interested in R&D. It's the Industrial Research Institute, and many companies that are there. It took us a long time. Initially, I went to it with a field study approach. I interviewed, I observed, I asked them about their innovation processes for a long time. And everyone kept on talking about this social cognitive fixation on their frames. They said, we all think the same way. We all wanted to do radical innovation, but we're doing incremental. I asked them, are those digital ways, AI, crowds, anything that can help you? No. The only thing they talked to us was the fact that they are frustrated by the gap of their kind of work, R&D technologies versus their personal technologies. When they want to search something, when they want to do something on the personal level, it's so easy, but it's uncomparable when they want to do these things for work. And we started thinking, oh, maybe we need to think about designing something. That's my HCI collaborators that have the ability to do that, that will feel to them as intuitive and as easy as searching on your mobile phone when you want to do something. So how do you search for ideas? How do you think about the innovation process as something that becomes much more enhanced and augmented by those daily technologies? And what we designed is a new augmented innovation process that provides experts with this analogical inspiration engine. So it could be fed by input from crowds or AI, but the idea here is that the crowd or the AI does not substitute the expert, does not solve instead of them, but it gives them inspiration. It gives them kind of different ideas that maybe will open up some of this cognitive fixation about the problem that they're facing. And we tested it with real problems from these real organizations from IRI. This is one of the big kind of GE, Siemens, Philips-like companies. I cannot mention its name, but basically this is a problem they've had. They already tried to crowdsource. They were not happy with the solutions, and they were willing to experiment with us around designing water-efficient laundry system, one of the big problems that we know today with drought, etc. And we basically took a group of all the R&D professionals from many different companies, highly experienced and educated, and we did 3 different conditions. The first one was the usual one: let those R&D experts try to solve by themselves. That's what they do at their daily job, the same problem, of course. And this was like a field experiment in one of their conferences. The second one was, let's try to augment them with this thing that we built, with this kind of quick thing. It wasn't as perfectly built, right? The user interface was not as perfect as we were hoping. We were hoping to have this like swipe right and left. And you basically, so think about it, when you're getting that problem, you're trying to design now water efficient laundry system, okay? And you're getting those inputs to your phone or to your laptop of different ideas that came from the crowds or from AI that try to take you a bit further from what your usual standard solutions are. So you can see UV light here, for instance, one of the inspiration. We started with the crowds in this study. Now we're doing it with AI. So one inspiration that was brought by an Amazon Turker was to think about UV light in the same way that we have in hospital. It doesn't use water and it sterilizes everything. Another one was to have stainless clothes, and then you actually don't need to put them in the washer, right? So all these different ideas, and they're getting exposed to it for 10 minutes. The whole thing is very short, right? They're getting exposed to it. Will that impact their ideation? And the third idea has to do with some of my work around problem formulation and abstracting problems. And we said, how about we don't give the crowd the same exact problem we give the experts, but we abstract it a little bit to help them think even more broadly about the problem. So we talk about even particles that, you know, should not meet each other, etc. And they gave indeed interesting inspirations. You can see that the inspiration is different a little bit if it's augmented only or augmented with abstractions, right? So those stainless clothes, for instance, were with abstraction, right? It's a bit different than the UV light. The results are that the augmenting R&D experts did yield a significant difference in the solution space exploration. So I have like 10 different slides here that are all hidden. If anyone is interested, I can show you how we got to this. So it's like very interesting to see how do you map a solution space and all the different solutions. So each of the ideas that they brought us, which are about 160, we kind of map them and categorize them along a solution space. And we saw what is the most immediate, the closest, if you think about distance and close search, right? And how do people bring their solutions? So what are the most immediate solutions that are close to the problem that they had, which was to clean without a washing machine, versus those that are thinking about new ways to have washing machines, versus those that have ideas about, we don't even need to clean clothes anymore, right? Reduce the need to clean to begin with. So this is kind of immediate, proximate, and distant. And you can see that the majority of the ideas is shifting, right? In the solo conditions, most experts were giving ideas from the original problem as it was framed. Then in the augmented ideas, we see a different distribution, right? 45% washing machine, 43. So they're giving us different ideas. And in the augmented with abstraction, they're moving even more to those distant ideas. So we can shift some of the ways with a 10-minute intervention. We can shift some of the ways these experts work. So what I would say is let's not give up on experts. And then some of my co-authors still said, no, we should think again about, do we need experts? Maybe we don't even need them for the second part. Maybe we'll just use crowds. So we let one crowd inspire another crowd. We remove the experts. So we had a debate between the co-authorship group. You can imagine who was on which side, and we said, okay, let's do another study and test this instead of arguing. So we basically had a different crowd try to use the inspiration from the first crowd and see how are their solutions compared to the expert solutions? Because this is a washing machine. You can imagine people, any of us can maybe relate to it. So what do you think happened? I'm just curious with a vote of hands. Who do you think had more novel ideas and who do you think had more useful ideas? Experts that received this inspiration from the crowd, or a different crowd of Amazon Turkers, individuals, they're not working together, Amazon Turkers who are receiving ideas and inspirations from another crowd. Same inspiration, same idea, same problem. Anyone thinks that experts are more novel, will bring more novel ideas, or no? One person only believes that in domain experts, really these people have like 20 years of experience, PhDs, engineering. Novel. I'm voting for novel first. Novel. Okay, so novel, everyone thinks, the majority thinks it's the crowd, I see, okay? Useful. Okay, amazing. Okay, so that was also my initial hypothesis, to be honest. But what we found, and this is one study, a beginning, I'm sure we can do many, and it depends on the type of problem, the type of crowd you take, of course. But what we found is actually that the experts had brought more novel ideas and more useful ideas. And I have a comparative case when I'm showing, and you can see how they're able, like what's underlying that is their ability to really recombine the inspiration and bring in their in-depth knowledge. So we don't have time to fully show it today, but all I will say is let's not give up on experts so fast. Let's not just substitute and automate us so fast, but let's think how to design this technology in a way that truly augments our capabilities, help us overcome our biases and our fixations that we know, in a way that then we can bring, the best that we could. And as I said, this was done with crowd, and now we're doing it with, NLP. We're using it on the US patent database with Brynjolfsson, a PhD student from NYU, and with Daphna Shachaf and her group. And GPT-3 is amazing if anyone wants to ask questions. It's also amazingly expensive. So we'll watch it when you're starting to use it. And we're basically trying to do the same thing. So to build this AI analogical engine that companies and designers and engineers can use when they're trying to solve their problems. So thank you very much. And I'm here for questions afterwards.